Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to Stat Check. This is episode 12, Tears of Tears. Sure is. I'm Ennis, and I'm joined as always by Anthony and Nathan. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing like the last minute hobby prep for going to my first major, I guess. Because I guess that's what Michigan GT is. Since it's over 100 people, it's technically a major.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I think that's more than technically a major. That's just a major, dude.
That's just a major. So I'm
Depends on
going.
who shows up.
Well, Ogden and Chester are showing up. So I guess that's some good people who are showing up. Who are
There's
at
not
least
one,
doing
two.
40K.
At least 3 for you.
Yeah. I mean, I plan on going hopefully just 4-1 and just being okay. Like that's my desire. My desired result is a 4-1. My likely result is probably like a 3-2, just because that feels like
But
a
you
thing
are
that would
playing the
happen.
third best turret sub faction, so it could only be expected.
It's true. I am playing Leviathan, and me and the Pyropod are riding again after a furious last-minute editorial with Anthony and Innes in our private Discord chat. Where I was like, "Here's my list," and they were both like, "This was terrible. Do this again."
Please
try again.
Don't submit a spore assist.
Jesus Christ.
You're better than this, Nathan.
I know. So the Pyropod rides again into GW terrain, where hopefully we'll unbury some fools from ruins with Pyropods, as is my favorite thing to do with it.
My favorite is the slight screening miscalculation that leads to a backfield Pyropod.
Yeah, but if they've left a 15-inch gap for a Pyropod, you just gotta put it there. Like
you must.
I have to.
My favorite thing is still the time I played into Tau and somebody left just the smallest window for me to drop the Pyropod and all 6 Pyrophores in range of their commander and just flambéed a commander turn 1 with the Pyropod drop. Just like watched that Tau Empire commander just vanish. And I was like,
sorry. You didn't need that guy, did you?
You didn't need that commander, did you? Probably not. Definitely not. But yeah, so I'm doing that. I'm prepping a display board for it, which is my first display board. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it will look probably fine.
It's looking really cool from the pictures.
Cool already.
I'm looking forward to seeing it done.
Thanks. Yeah. So Anthony, how about you? How was your weekend and week shaping up?
My weekend was good. I won that tournament with Emperor's Children. I played without Abhor the Witch for the first time, which was, deeply sad, but it was okay. As it turns out, Delightful Agnes on that Terminator unit's fucking nonsense. If you want access to it, you kind of just are like, Psychic Interrogation is not happening, though, because you have one caster, as I have the list written. So you're a Warp Ritual gamer. So you're beating people in the forehead with Feel No Pain Terminators for 2 turns and then throwing that ritual in the middle afterwards. And that worked. The one game I took Interrogate, I was pissed that I did it. So that's going to be like Tyranids, where I learned that I don't do that most of the time.
Interrogate's not real anyway.
Yeah, it's bullshit nonsense. So just don't and do this instead. And that worked really well. Not having to take banners when I played the mirror against someone that was running the last version of my list was pretty good. So yeah, in general, that worked really well. I was very happy with that. I'll probably be taking a Demon Prince to Chicago, which is not this weekend, but the following weekend. Besides that, I spent the Jewish holiday with my girlfriend and her family, and that was pretty sweet. Love seeing them. And that was my weekend.
Nice. Did you end up getting to play Sean in the end?
I did not. Sean came unpainted, so he submarine dodged me the whole way.
So he just beat up on other people. He just is just like, I'm going to beat up on everybody in like the middle of this bracket.
Yeah, my poor buddy Brandon had to played like a nice guard player round 1, and then played me and then Sean because he got the pair up into the, which is the world's worst
the champions one too.
Yeah, that was truly heroic.
Going 1-2 where you could have just gone home after round 1 and had the same effect.
Yeah, I would argue that is probably the most difficult 1-2 that anyone's had in the last 6 months.
Definitely.
Oh, I don't know, man. There's some of those ones that Dice Down talk about on their podcast where they're like, yeah, so I went to the RTD and my round 1 was David, my round 2 was Vic, and my round 3 was like some of the things. Like you're like,
Yeah,
all right, fair
that's
enough.
rough,
60
too.
year in the house is pretty rough, pretty scary.
Yeah, I guess that's more of like a team practice weekend. I guess that's kind of what this was. Never mind. Yeah.
Anytime you cram like eight great players into one room, like somebody's getting hurt, right?
Yep. Yeah, someone's having a bad weekend.
Inevitably, just the guy who showed up and he was like, "Oh man, I'm bringing my salamanders. I'm gonna have fun at this RTT," and then just
it
gets
goes 2-1 because he
repeatedly.
stupidly dodges all of it. It's like, yeah, I'm clearly better than all these guys.
Yeah. Second place, yeah, and thinks, "Oh no."
Yeah, it's gonna be like the LGT Invitational where somebody's gonna lose round 1, man. There's lots of pairings with 2 great players. One of you's going 0-1, going home.
What happens if you draw?
I think probably coin flip. No, I don't know. It'll probably be higher seed wins, but I don't know.
That makes sense.
Just don't draw.
Yeah.
Yep. How about you, Ines? How was your weekend?
Yeah, good. I went to a little RTT myself. 6 players. I took the Gene Star Cults. Got to play a few good games and won that one as well. So that paid for a couple of Zinch Flamers the weekend after LGT, where I'm going down to Battle of Britain for a team event with a bunch of Scottish teams. So that we're all sorted for that.
Nice.
Gene Star Cult list proves to continually be completely bonkers at doing exactly what I wanted to do, which I don't get. I ended up playing Leviathan Nids in round 2 again, and just dies, man. I don't know. I keep looking at it from the side of the Leviathan Nids. Like, how would I beat this if I was playing it? And I keep resolving to I just have to roll better 5s than this guy is.
I just need to be on the one side of that variance today. Can I just be on the right hand side of that distribution and watch everything that I roll be a 5 or more?
Yeah. And I got to live the most gaming moment of all time. Over 2 rounds, a squad of bikes survived, not only getting charged by the Hive Tyrant and only losing 5 dudes, also getting charged by Abaddon and losing 1.5 quads.
Ines, no, that's not how any of that is supposed to work. Like, that's
Dude
not
charged in with full rerolls to hit, got 7 hits, no 6s, and then full rerolls to wound, 3 wounds on me and killed 2 bikes with no mortal wounds. Just like.
So what I'm hearing is that
okay.
Ines actually creates like a little pocket dimension around himself where he takes all of his opponent's good luck to increase his own luck, like the some kind of twisted version of the 1, but in Warhammer.
Exactly. I didn't need it because what I actually wanted him to do was punch my rock grinder so I could auto explode it and kill the 1 wound Abaddon. But so he was actually making a better decision, and it didn't matter at all. I ended up killing Abaddon by charging him with the Kellermorph, taking my armor save against his attacks, and going pistols in combat, and got the 1 mortal wound. I got the 1 wound who didn't get any mortal wounds, and he failed one of the 2 saves I made him take.
Jeez.
Just like, hell yeah.
Oh, I mean, that just makes me think about my practice game into Custodes over the weekend, where I was still testing Harpies, and one exploded for the first time ever and killed the last bike in a squadron of bikes.
Harpies exploding is such gaming.
It's like, okay, so here's this 6-inch explode. I'm going to pick that 2-wound bike over there, and that bike is going to die. And then the other Harpy also exploded, making me infinitely happy.
Remember, it's only the closest enemy unit.
There was only 1 enemy unit near him. So
cool, that's fine. You said pick, and I was like,
yes. Just that one guy over there.
No, I every time I use a Harpy, I mix the Leviathan auto explode strategy.
Fair. I mean, forever that Harpy will be my favorite guy from when he charged the Silent King and killed him with the Horned Chitin strategy. Charge.
That's how I killed man. That's how I killed Manny's bar up once.
Sometimes you just need that one thing to happen.
You just need 1 mortal wound, bro. just one.
Just need.
I've
to
never seen that strat roll anything but a 1. So
yeah, no, I once rolled 7 1s in a row in a tournament with it across 5 games, and I was like, I still have to use it. It's still the right play.
Right.
1, but it makes up for it when you have that like stretchy games where you'll use it twice against the same opponent and do 11 mortal wounds, and you're just like, yeah. I know that this doesn't make it up for you, but I fail this a lot.
Exactly. It's like every single time he does the flat 6 mortal wounds on that Hive Tyrant, you're like, Well, with the D3 plus 3, you do 6 rather on the 6.
Breaking through never went away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Damn. Breaking through my opponent's morale.
his personal, yes, his physical characteristic, his leadership.
All right. Shall we discuss the topics of the day?
Do you want to talk about stats real quick, where I talk about the meta being the same as it was before?
No, that's one of the topics of the day, Nathan. You gotta let me introduce it a little bit.
Go do your thing, Ines. Go introduce your topics.
So this is Stat Check. This is our weekly show where we talk all things 40k. We're going to be running through a little bit of stats and breakdown for the meta. We're going to be doing so. We're going to let Nathan take charge on that in just a minute. Then we're going to go through a little bit of a new segment that we're going to be bringing in, or I suppose a new piece of content farm or reaction farm, whatever you want to call it, that we're going to be doing, which is my stats initiative, because we've got like 4 other ones. The only person who's not got a stats initiative now is Anthony, who will never have one.
He has a stats initiative. It's learning stats. That's his initiative.
That's not really his initiative, is it?
It certainly wasn't my idea, I'll tell you that much.
Then we'll be going into our usual talk shit about the meta for a bit, which will probably lead off of the previous section. And then finally, we will be doing our listener questions, which we'll be taking from our Patreon Discord and also from the live chat here. If you're enjoying the show, which we hope you are, check us out at youtube.com/statcheck to see all the backlog episodes, or if you're listening to the podcast, if you want to catch the live shows or see any of the bonus content, that's the place to do it. If you want to support the show a little bit more, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe. If you're on Twitch, hit the follow button, or whatever the various clicky things you can do on any of the various things you're on. And then if you like the show a lot, you can check us out at patreon.com/statcheck, where you can support us and get access to our Patreon Discord, where you can chat shit with us. We are currently, I think, at 96 or 97 subscriber patrons, which means that we're almost at the 100 threshold, where Nathan's promised to do something stupid on stream, like watch the SpongeBob movie.
It's not just me. You're all doing it, including Cliff and Jeremy.
I mean, I'll do it for Cliff. Like, if Cliff's
I know you're going to do it for Cliff. You want something to look at that's not the movie. I understand.
Let's see, we were going to be doing live. Let's see, we're going to be doing live video commentary over it.
Exactly.
Yes, Val. The clicky things. Click the clicky things. And embrace the dopamine hit from clicking things.
Ring the bell.
The button will change colors. Don't you want to see that?
Exactly. I think it even makes a sound. I don't know.
I'm just trying to appeal to what would appeal to my terrible dopamine hit receptors. Like, ooh, the lights and colors went different. Ooh, it flashed. I don't know. Hit the buttons, man. It'll make us feel better. It might make you feel better, and we all need that right now.
You described yourself and also the average Tacitus enjoyer.
I mean, look, if we could get just like half of the people to pull the lever as like a gotcha game, so stuff came out of it, I would be quite enthralled.
Yeah, so basically what we're announcing is the Stat Check Gotcha game. If you hit the subscribe button on 15 different accounts,
you might get an SSR Vince.
Yeah.
you might win a special prize. 1% drop rate.
Not one. It's like 0.00001.
Yeah, well, the first special prize is us saying thank you. If you want the good drop rates, the higher tier loot drops, it's like 0.000037%, which is specifically regulated because it's the exact number that China doesn't regulate for gambling.
You have to hit the VIP membership button, which is like $50 a month to get that extra 10% on the 0.0001 drop rate.
And each time you hit it, you have that chance.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not saying here is to like and to subscribe and resubscribe and unsubscribe a bunch of times, because we get the email notifications for that.
Don't do that. You will annoy me to no end.
I know what I'm doing.
God damn it.
That's my Sunday plans if I'm not in LGD finals.
I'm gonna look at. I'm reporting that as spam, so I don't have to listen to it all weekend. It will buzz in my pocket every 5 seconds when you do that. Please don't do that. It also does it for.
Let's move on swiftly.
Okay, on to stats corner for the stats. Something I don't know.
Stat corner.
Stats for the stat god with his chair made of.
He's like a Muller-like corner. We've got a big wide meta, and Nathan's going to pour in the chocolate-covered biscuits of stats. I don't know.
That's a very stodgy reference. I don't know. All right. This last week there were like 8 events of GT size or bigger. So that's 5+ round to 25+ person events that we tracked. just going to go over the win rates really quickly. There's not like a lot to talk about that people haven't heard of already. Harlequins had only 3 players this weekend, means they had a 0.8% meta rep, which is actually back to the meta representation that I'm used to for Harlequins, which is sub 1%. And another thing that I'm used to from when they had that sub 1% meta representation is that they're winning 80% of their games. So 3 players, 180% of their games. It's great. Tyranids are next. They had 28 players and a 64% win rate. Then we have Sisters and Death Guard at 60. Gene Stealer Colt also at 60. Necrons right under 60 at 59.4. Then we have it closing out at Grey Knights, Tau Empire, and Chaos Knights closing out the 57.5 down to 54.3 for Chaos Knights. After that, it's kind of a depressing little jungle until you hit Astra Militarum. I think some of these numbers aren't fully updated. At least I hope they are, because Astra Militarum had 12 players over the weekend and a 0% win rate.
That would be amazing.
I definitely don't think that's true.
So I think that last number might not be accurate. We'll update you on the meta dashboard a little bit later this week. We've been kind of dealing with just some of this data taking longer to process than it has historically, which is just life, unfortunately, folks. Sometimes the data will take longer than it otherwise does. Otherwise, our long-term data from the start of September until the end of September, we'll talk a little bit more about why we'll be tracking that data in a little bit in our content preview portion of this episode, I suppose. Harlequins continue to be on top for all of September with a 65% win rate overall. It's with 40 players and a 2.2 meta representation. So they've just kind of popped over the 65% win rate for the month of September. Tyranids are in second place at 60.6, so just over 60%. Sisters are in third at 55.7. Necrons are in fourth at 53.9. Chaos Soup is in fifth at 52.6. And then we have Tau, Chaos Demons, Gene Stealer Colt, Imperial Knights, and Chaos Space Marines kind of filling it out from there. I'm not going to even consider Forces of the Hive Mind that had 2 players and a 72% win rate, because like I don't care about you 2 people winning 72% of your games across the whole month of September, whatever. And at the bottom is still Adeptus Mechanicus, who desperately needs something from GW. Somebody from GW needs to pay attention to Mechanicus and their 30.8% win rate across the month of September. That's just kind of miserable, guys, and needs
We're
to
not
be
allowed.
fixed.
We're not allowed to pile on and say that they don't deserve buffs because somebody in YouTube comments complained about that last episode.
Make the las cannons d6 damage. Fuck them.
I was gonna say 2d6 pick the lowest and make them assault weapons. Just
Yeah, they're already assault,
but yes, make them heavy so you can't advance
them
them
heavy
anymore. You make Iron Striders infantry instead of vehicles, so now they get a
Make
-1
them
hit
hunter.
penalty. Yeah, make them hunter so they get no benefits from anything.
No!
But really, somebody at GW needs to pay attention to AdMech, and that you need a doctorate in like their command phase in order to make them work.
No, you
properly.
don't. You stack everything on one squad of guys, and they do as much damage as one squad of Tyranid warriors, and then you get tabled.
You could
That's
make
fair.
AdMech great tomorrow if you just made those las chicken weapons beam.
20. What are they?
Just make them
24
OP.
inches assault
They're
beam.
48 inches.
Are they 48 inches?
Make the
48
Vanguard
inch lads
make the
can
Vanguard's
beam.
guns beam. Just the
Excellent.
generic Vanguard. Make his gun beam.
You know what?
Yeah.
If they actually made the Las Chicken guns beam, I might actually just chuckle at the sheer ludicrousness of 48-inch beams.
Yeah. So what did you bring? 18 last chickens. What else? I don't know.
A light show of beams.
All I know is I must kill.
Otherwise, for GT wins this week, we had Imperial Knights taking 1, Yanari taking 1, Tyranids taking, I believe, 2 or 3. Black Templars took an event, Orcs took an event, Necrons took an event. And that's kind of it from my recollection. So we do
Took an event. Mental.
Yeah, Orcs won something. They won the Ice Hammer GT in Novosibirsk, Russia. In my
Fair
worst
enough.
Russian accent possible, Novosibirsk.
Yeah, Novosibirsk.
Novosibirsk.
Oh, cool. I just got an email notification. Anthony Vanilla subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yeah, otherwise, Imperial Knights took the biggest event of the weekend, which is Flying Monkey Con, I believe. That's kind of it. That's it for the meta. The meta's in a pretty good spot. We'll have a meta dashboard update in a few days. Yes, CrootCon was won by Yanari.
Was CrewCon won by Yanari or was it won by Chris Wright? We got to ask the
Yes.
real questions here.
Yeah, was it won by one of the best players in Australia or by Yanari? I'm going to lean towards the Eric Lithuris theory that I'm kind of deciding on.
Look, man, if the whole country's Eric Lafferty, it doesn't count if one of them wins the tournament. Like, I don't know, man. You can't keep using that as an excuse.
It works for 8 of them.
It works for a few of them, yeah. I can use it for a few things. Otherwise,
shout out to William Wyckoff though of Team Chadmec, which I just like.
Let's see what else. Anything else interesting? I guess Tyranids won two events, but had an undefeated at Flying Monkey Con as well.
Oh, can I just check? Were they what subfaction were they?
I actually don't know, but I can look it up for you if you want to give me a couple seconds. But I'm assuming they're Leviathan.
Yeah, wow.
Like the vast majority,
the entire Tyranid playing population is sandbagging so hard and only playing our third best subfaction.
Should I look at it real quick for you? Okay, so Tyranids Leviathan, 1,300 games out of 2,000, which is most of it, with a 61% win rate. Kraken only has 233 games with a 57% win rate, which is 4% lower. I know math is hard for some of the people out there who make tier lists and like to talk about win rates, but 57 is less than 61. And then Behemoth is under Kraken at 54% with 156 games played, which I also know is shocking to hear is lower than 61%.
No, that can't be right. 61 is not lower than 61 can't be higher than 54. 5 is a bigger number than 6.
I know, right? Somehow a Tyranid subfaction without a subfaction listed has a higher win rate than everything at 75%, which means
those.
Yeah, that's the Innis subfaction, just with the 75% win rate in the bottom left right-hand corner of the meta dashboard. I mean, we could go a little further, I guess, and pull out some of this veteran data as well.
Let's not.
You don't want to do that? You want me to not just keep digging into it? I'm gonna do it. I'm pulling up the stuff right now, Innis.
Look, Kraken is so much better than Leviathan. You can tell by all the wins it doesn't get.
Yeah, I mean here. So we pulled up just the veteran win rate. Veteran win rate is for Leviathan is 64%, which is still higher than 62% for Kraken and 58% for Behemoth. So, yeah. Leviathan probably better than Kraken, especially given that Leviathan is played by 896 out of 1,300 games played for veteran.
Now, I don't know what a sample size is, and I refuse to learn, but...
You don't know what a sample size is, and you refuse to learn what a sample size is?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, fair enough. That's it. That's where we'll stop for the day. I can't handle any more of this nonsense about not knowing what a sample set is. My brain kind of wanted to skip over it and be like, yeah, of course, that's just the American education system failing somebody. But then I was like, but Innis is from Scotland, so it's the Scottish education system that's failing.
No, yeah, that failed me for different reasons. It's okay.
I'm sure that's failed plenty of people.
I'm sure a few people have been failed by it.
Yeah, man. The only reason that they can get away with putting the diet numbers on or putting the nutrition numbers on all our food is none of us know what a number is.
It's actually just a recording of whether you should eat it or not, and whether or not it's good for you.
It's I or nay on the front of every package.
So, do we want to transition to our other topics of the evening, Innis, that you wanted us to talk about?
Yeah. So I decided we had a team call a couple of weeks ago where we basically went through what should we be doing to make more content that's useful to people. And I don't know about you guys, but when I came to 40K, I didn't come from playing other board games. I came from playing video games, which I'm assuming a lot of people are as well. And in a lot of video games where they do really cool things like meta reports, which are so I came from like Hearthstone, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, and you get a lot of buzz around tier lists. Everybody loves a tier list, and 40K absolutely holds true. However, 40K tier lists are very different to a lot of games tier lists in that they don't often encode a lot of information. They're more reactionary, and And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we're going to, revolutionize it or make anything different. But we decided that we were going to take it upon ourselves to do a quote unquote meta report. So the idea is going to be once a month towards the end of the month. So we're looking at having the first one come out this Friday-ish, depending on how quickly I can get it together before I leave for LGT, which is going to be the end of September meta, which will be just before Votann drops, just before we start seeing them in tournaments. And we're looking to have a combined tier list of the meta as it stands at the end of the current meta, basically. And then that'll give us a really good point of comparison as we go towards the end of October, where we can start having a look at actually analyzing what effect we think it's had on the game with the release of Votann, potentially the balance date slight changes if they come out this week. And that's the goal. That's why we're pushing up the time frame. That's why we're launching it when it is. It's not because Art of War dropped the tier list. I know it's going to look like that, and it really feels like it now because Art of War did their tier list.
It feels even more like you did it now that you even mentioned Art of War's tier list, as if we're going to talk about it later.
I'm getting it in front of it.
Okay.
I've decided that that's the play I'm making. So we are looking at releasing our tier list. The way we're going to be running it, I'm going to do a super brief rundown. I'm hoping to have a methodology post come out on the blog roll. I'll probably a couple of days after we do the main event, so probably Tuesday or Wednesday the week after, once I get back from LGT, that runs through why we chose the things we did and any potential pitfalls and what we might look at improving or changing or why we're keeping things the same going forward. The way we're looking at doing it is we're going to be having it be weighted on 5 categories or 4 categories. 4 categories. So we're going to be looking at the overall win rate for each faction, the number of raw event wins for each faction, and the overrepresentation data for each faction. So those will be the 3 main stats that we track. Then each of those will have a 20% weighting towards the overall tier list. The last thing we'll be tracking is a player perception score, basically. So each of the 5 hosts a stat check, or the 5 of the 3 of us, as well as Cliff and Jeremy, we get a spreadsheet and we rate the factions from currently it's 1 to 20. It will be 1 to 21 versus once Leaks of Votann drop. And we all put them in, and then that collated data, so the average across all 5 of us, and then we'll be including a special guest from month 2 onwards. Once we can start getting people on board, if they want to do it, then we're gonna leave the option open to bring in people from other metas across the world to try and get a broader view on this. That will be combined and give us our player perception, which will weight for 40% combined. So it will be stats overall, weight up 60% of it, and then our perceptions as a bunch of people who are very invested in the stats and top level play for 40k will be the remaining 4%. That will give us the meta breakdown, and that will give us the factions in order currently 1 to 21. 1 to 20 will be 1 to 21 once Votann drop. And then every month we'll have an accompanying post that goes along with that, with our breakdowns of why we think some factions are where they are, all that kind of thing, as well as our personal ballots, because if you want to rip the piss out of us, we want that to be available for you. We want you to know that one of us didn't think Tyranids were the best faction this month. One of us. Exactly one of us. So we want all that to be available for you guys. And then the goal is that we publish that along with a change log every month, so you can see what we think got better this month, what the stats they got better this month. So you can see if Tyranids dropped from 1st to 5th because Votann came out, or if Harlequins moved from 2nd to 2nd because they don't care about it, because it's still Harlequins. That's the goal. So we are going to be launching that hopefully this Friday. It is going to be called the Stat Check Meta Report. So look for that on our blog roll and all the socials, and hopefully in all your Discords as all your friends share it as a reactionary post, because we live for the clickbait, baby. Next step, TikTok. Nobody wants to see that unless it's Cliff doing it.
I mean, I'll do it if other people do it.
I would pay loads of money to watch you TikTok dance. That shit would be hilarious.
How much are we charging for the white paper, and is there a webinar available? Yeah, it's all through Cliff's executive training, so it's $17 billion.
Yeah, we definitely need to just have this established with some kind of excellent peer review process internally. That's definitely what we need.
Yeah, so the goal is to try and copy things, or try and iterate on things like the Half-Life, the HLTV's Counter-Strike rankings, I think it's a Vicious Syndicate's meta report for Hearthstone.
Vicious Syndicate is Hearthstone.
Vicious Syndicate, all of those things that have been very foundational in my personal understanding of how good factions are. I love it when I play, like, I bring out a new card game or something like that. Like I've been playing Legends of Runeterra a bit recently, and it's been really great that I can just like go on a website and see what all the current tier decks are. And be like, all right, I'm going to copy that one, and then I can read about it. Be like, this is why it's good right now. This is what it's strong into. Obviously, all of that data is a little bit harder to process for 40k. So we're not going to be having that in the first instance, but we will be trying to have, this is why we all thought Tyranids were tier 1, and we'll have like a little bit of a breakdown for each faction every month, or for all the primary factions, and just be like, this is why we think it's where it is. So that people have that as they can come back to it. It should be timely and relevant every month. You can come back to it. If it's the end of if it's October, you drop in. You've got the September one. It runs for a month, and then once you're into November, we got the November one. We'll probably end up taking a month off in December, just because events don't really happen in December. But we'll see. We'll play that by year, just because the way that it would pan out, it would be coming out over like the Christmas New Year period, and that's a bit of a bum time to ask people to do a bunch of content. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, a changelog. Come on, Ines. I hope you would just publish it and put it in the community to figure out. Absolutely not. I despise everything about the thing you just said.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that we're going to try to do is have some, like Ennis mentioned earlier, guests on to both add to our ranking system, but also to add some interpretation to it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And also promote the shit out of themselves, because tier list, if we know one thing about tier lists, is that they spread like wildfire. I was getting, when I did my the player community vote one, I got way more eyes on that than it deserved. And if we did that when it was just me doing it randomly on Twitter, I'm hoping I can get a good bit of eyes on this this time. It's I enjoy doing tier lists as well. They're just good fun, and I get to flex some terrible graphic design muscles.
Wait, are we going to talk about? Do we want to talk about tier lists some more? I do definitely have a tier list that we can talk about.
Yeah, let's
if we
now.
want to talk about
Leading
tier
on
lists.
from that, let's not bury it's not burying the lead so much. What do we think of the Art of War tier list this week? We've not done a reaction to an Art of War tier list in a while, and I think it might break Anthony.
I guess I'll share it because I love the
I can tell what all those icons are.
Extremely high tech sharing thing that I've got going on, where I snipped their final tier list and put it onto my second
So
monitor.
if you do that thing where you make sure that you treat all of the Space Marine factions as the same Space Marine faction, everything is B tier or higher except 2 armies.
3.
Yeah.
No, if you combine all the Space Marines.
Oh, I see. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the Space Marine factions themselves. Sorry. It's like there's a third Space Marine faction there, but yes, all but 2.
Yeah, which actually I don't think is untrue right now. That kind of bore out from when I was doing my ballot, is that it was real close between like 6 and 15. I didn't have a lot of.
Yeah,
I was pretty happy with where the state of the game is right now. Blood Angels are wildly underrated.
I love where the game's at. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think the game is probably at its like healthiest point, despite having 2 S tier factions. We're not going to talk about Votann a whole lot at this moment, but if we talk about the meta right now, the 2 S tier factions are essentially Tyranids, Necrons, and then you can probably make an argument for Harlequins being the 3rd S tier faction of the moment.
And somebody should have on their show.
Well,
Somebody definitely should have. I don't know if there's a world where you can lower than the A tier, just given their win rate and ability to win at events.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure every single army in A tier above them, they have a positive matchup into, except maybe Demons. That's because I don't know that matchup well enough.
Demons can be uncomfortable. And
Flamers do terrible
things. Yeah, Flamers,
both.
Bellicor seems rough. Phase Cap Bloodthirster seems rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I could see that being in it, but like the other 4 all seem pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, their matchup into Nids is good too, and their matchup into Necrons isn't terrible either.
Yeah, exactly. Nick wanted to put them in B. John was saying, Nick shouldn't be allowed to play them. I think that should just be a general rule.
Isn't Nick supposed to be retired? Why are we letting retired competitive 40k players tell us where things are at in the meta?
Retired?
I don't know, man. We're content creators now. We don't think we get to make that shade.
I know, that's fair.
We're not retired, though, are we?
It's true, we aren't retired.
No, you have to have been somebody to retire.
That's not true. Plenty of people who retire and never succeed at things that they do.
Yeah. I know loads of folks that have retired from MLMs, and they definitely never went anywhere.
That's fair. Do we see anything else on here that we just absolutely disagree with? So A tier we have, I believe that's Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights, yeah.
And then Imperial Knights in A tier, we have Harlequins. We have that's Sisters of Battle, I assume. Some of these icons are
I think it's Tau. It looks more like Tau, but yeah.
This is Tau. This is Sisters.
Yeah, that's Sisters.
Imperial Knights. I assume Abaddon is just Chaos Space Marines. Demons. I'm also a little surprised to see Craft World Eldar sticking it out in A still, because
I don't know. I wonder if that's just there because they rate in RA.
that might be.
I think
Inunari
that's
might
they
be
rate.
B.
I think they, as a whole, that has a strong tendency of overrating craft worlds, like in general. Their team
I
does
don't think
that
Craftworld's on a great
strongly.
place right now.
Yeah, the Swift Strikes
I
build.
also
is
think they've
cute,
probably
but
got
that's not-
Drakari and GSC too low.
Where's GSC here?
GSC's middle of B, which puts them like 7th worst faction right now.
Yeah, that's not right.
And Drakari,
it
I think I had
depends,
in my
really,
top 5
because-
because that rack build is bullshit.
Man, that rack build is not top 5. That's fucking crazy.
It keeps winning stuff.
Sure. GSC is definitely real good. Drakari, I would not rate that high. It also depends on how much you look at this as like holistic faction health versus like one build works. But I think the game gets really weird.
I
when
think
start
you
looking
always kind of
things
look at it as
holistically.
one build, right? You just like
You should always
peak
look
of
at it
the
as one
faction.
build. Yeah,
You should always
that's
look
how
at
you
the
should
peak.
always do this.
And if there's multiple
Yeah.
things that are at the peak, then you can be like, yeah. And the fact that factions have list diversity also opens up. Like I would say, the fact that Tyranids have a decent bit of list diversity, you can definitely make meta tech helps them above a bunch of the A and B tier factions where they have one strong build. You can definitely play a bunch of different things within the Leviathan ecosphere, and you can even kind of make Kraken work.
Yeah, I mean, you have
CSM
three
has like
sub
3 or 4 legions.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Which helps them be a little bit better than armies that are probably about the same power level as them, but have less ability to meta adapt. Whereas something like Harlequins, you have one build. You have like 100 points of flex slot.
I guess I also hadn't heard of Tau being like top of A, barely out of S kind of situation.
Yeah, they're playing on GW Open terrain, right? So
Is it, I mean, I guess
In
this is
general,
also
Tau is
caveated by
terrifying.
terrain, yeah.
that was really good.
Not even.
Is
Even on
do you think
like,
it's
on UKTC and WTC terrain, Tau is still insane. Like
Yeah,
absolutely
that was
nuts.
just nuts.
what do you think
Yeah.
then is dragging down their win rate so much? Because their win rate's okay currently still
pilots.
in the data tracking.
Yeah, they're now a difficult to play army. They're not just point and shoot in the same way. Like
Okay.
we're seeing Cal Grande bring out the everything like double Riptide and Crisis 2 where everything just fire and fades at you for 3 turns, and then turn 3 it pops out and Collion's you, and then 2 Sun Sharks to keep you honest. Or we're seeing like the mass Crisis 2 builds, or there's loads of different ways you can build Tau, but all of them they've become a lot heavier on execution, which is a hard list to play.
That makes sense.
Yeah. All shooting, no melee armies that rely on angles and perfect movement are going to always have a like lower win rate.
A pilot limitation, essentially.
Yeah, they're back to kind of where they were in 7th and 8th edition, where they are a skill-based movement army again, rather than, I ran 15 crises to you and they didn't die and you did, because I airbursted you from behind the wall for 5 turns. That's kind of gone now. But there are still people playing Tau in the same kind of ways. There's still people playing Storm Surge lists, all that kind of thing. So there's always going to be limitations on that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they still do have bad matchups. Like they can't still just lose to a bunch of the armies up the top there. I would say Harlequins
They definitely
especially is a
trip over
particularly
themselves.
rough matchup.
Yeah, Harley's is bad.
It's really fun on the Edge of the Invitational how both the Harlequin players are playing Tau round 1.
Poor Tau.
#fix.
See, is there
Yep.
anything else interesting we want to pull from this tier list before we move on to other content other than just digging on Art of War's tier
Mad
list for the
Space Marines
second
are
time?
really shit, aren't they?
I think Death Guard's better or is worse than Orcs.
I kind of don't care when you're down there. Like, are they the 3rd worst faction or the 4th worst faction? Yeah.
I think Death Guard and Guard are the worst factions. If
I'm
Guard
surprised
in your name,
Siegler
they're
let them
quite
put
bad.
Admech in C tier.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't there.
Yeah, but I feel like if he would have heard it and like dialed in and been like, get them up at least 2 tiers.
I mean, I think they need a whole separate icon for just Richard Siegler piloting AdMech, which can move it up tiers instead of everyone else who pilots it. Is
Not everyone
in
else.
the C
Rickard's
tier.
really good too.
That true. I can't discount that there are like 2 other. I think Rickard is one of them, and then there's one more person who's like an AdMech aficionado essentially, and actually wins with that faction.
My boy in Scotland, Gavin, but he's not playing them anymore. He's bought Chaos Knights because he doesn't hate himself.
It's fair. Why work twice as hard to get the results from a faction when you can work way less and get more.
I mean,
you can just
forever
run
the issue-
Abaddon at people.
Forever the issue with them will be that they're just not that fun.
That's it.
That's fair.
It's kind of the same thing with Death Guard, as Contact Lost asks. Death Guard just, I don't know, man. It's just a bunch of Plague Bearers or Plague Marines, and you walk at people. You hope the mission's good for you, and you, I don't know, lose probably.
You hope your opponent hasn't mastered the technique of staying like 18 inches away from you for the whole game.
Hey, they do get to fire like a couple blight launchers at you now.
That's true.
They do.
But yeah, Marines also probably need help based on this graphic where all of their sub-factions are in C and D tier, except for 3.
I think Blood Angels have an argument for A.
They also have an argument for C.
I don't know about all that. Definitely not.
I don't know, man. I just don't. They don't fucking win anything, really.
Sam
Yeah,
loses
and by
stuff
that
sometimes.
definition,
I don't know.
by definition, Iron Hand should probably be at the top of B because they actually have been winning events, although with basically just one pilot.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same for Blood Angels.
True. All right. Well, I think at that point, based on our Patterson,
Yeah, I don't have any particularly egregious issues with this other than that they underrated Harlequins. That's all I really got.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
that means Harlequins will just scoot under the radar for the soon-to-come data slate of some kind and continue
would
to not be
be-
nerfed at all.
That would be goddamn
Actively trolling.
hilarious.
Actively trolling.
I would
They're
love
actually
that.
Please-
That would
please
be
just make
super
Blight
funny.
minus. Please just make Blight minus 1 to the advance.
No, they're gonna nerf Twilight. They're gonna nerf Twilight.
They
were
were
like-
change Twilight to 5-up Mortal on Death.
Exactly.
They're gonna-
No, that's dark. They're gonna nerf
They're
They're
gonna
dark.
make
just
again.
both of them. They're just gonna combine them.
They're gonna make what's it called? Fuck, I lost my train of thought. No, my train of thought. It's gone.
We'll come back to it then. If you ever find that train car that you lost, we'll find it.
It's like as a 50-50 to miss Harleys with no rerolls.
It's
Yeah,
true their
sure.
trans hit at all times, including in balancing efforts.
They might just catch the invuln too. Like, it wouldn't even matter.
It's true.
Yeah, but they don't have any fate dice this turn, so they failed.
They never had them.
rolls.
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. They're gonna nerf Harlequin melee just because it's doing well in Yunari.
Yeah, they're just gonna make Ambush of Blades, Craft World Core.
That's the only nerf that they'll catch to is just ambush.
Yeah. Yeah.
That will
They'll
be it.
nerf the
That'll
wrong
be
part of
only
Blade
nerf.
again. Yeah, it's trans hitman over 24 now, guys. Look how balanced this is.
Only it'll be night fighting rules from now on for
It's
light
trans hitman if
Harlequins.
the Void Weavers are in their deployment zone and you're not.
For the first turn only. The Harlequins army is transit, and that's it.
Yeah.
All Harlequin units must disembark on turn 1.
What? Yeah, there you
They
go.
got to dance, man. They got to get a dance.
They got to get out and dance. It's the get out and dance rule. Oh no!
Yeah, on odd number turns, all Harlequin models must be on the board and cannot be in transports.
What happens if
even
they
turns?
are?
In even turns, they must be inside them. They just die.
Wow, shit!
They just gotta get in and out every turn.
It makes
Jesus.
me think more of like in Magic they had the joke sets, and there's like one coming out soon called Unfinity, where now on even and odd terms you either have to put all your Harlequins on the board or you have to dance for the whole turn.
I'll do it.
And if
You
you
must TikTok dance the entire
you-
turn
you
if
must
your Harlequins are on the
TikTok
board.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to dance the whole time. You have to have a choreography submitted with your army list to the TO
Oh,
in
boy.
advance with songs and dance steps and moves. So you
This is
now
basically the third Harlequin secondary that no one takes.
I'm still just waiting. I'm still just waiting for them to pull the trigger and give us transhuman 5s instead of transhuman 3s and 4s.
Shut up, man.
don't put that hate into the world.
Can only be wounded on a natural roll of a 5+. It's
Wow.
coming,
Just-
man. It's coming.
Just wait, it's gonna come to Custodes and we're all just gonna be depressed.
No, man, it's going to be like the Iron Hands chapter tactic or something stupid.
Anthony heard Custodes and 5-up transhuman and got
Don't
so close
you-
to his face. So bad.
Don't you fucking dare.
Wow,
Yeah, they'll natively have it on 4s, just army wide, and then the strat will push it to 5s.
I should actually be careful because Anthony is going to be in Chicago next week, and he will hit me with a snack box. He will.
I'll
Just,
pay for the snack box.
Chicago, Nathan.
you joke, but the first round of Age of Sigmar rules were basically making people dance at the table for bonuses.
I like Cetra's rule where if you ever kneeled for any reason, you immediately conceded.
Yeah.
Because Cetra does not kneel.
Whoa.
He does not serve, by the way, is the quote.
Yeah, but he didn't kneel either.
That's true.
Like, I don't know what you want from me, man. I didn't get the quote right. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm mad at you now.
Okay. You throw a snack box at me at Coventry, it's fine.
Yeah. You don't get the snack box thrown at you, you get beat up with it. That's the rules.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you
I'll
missed
bring
it.
a spray bottle
Like,
with the Stat Check logo on it for you.
Perfect.
I keep waiting for somebody to like figure out some of the Easter eggs. Maybe one day they will.
Look, man, there are no Easter eggs. Don't worry about the Easter eggs.
Definitely not.
Look, we're not saying that there's prizes for finding the Easter eggs.
Definitely
Do not go searching for the delicious prizes.
There
It's
are
just
prizes.
the Easter eggs are just literally Cadbury eggs. We'll mail you some.
They're illegal over
Look,
here.
do not eat the delicious stats.
Do we want to talk about Votann some more? Is that a thing that we actually want to
I
do?
so
No.
don't want to talk about Votann anymore. Can I talk about how cool the models are? Like
We
No.
can.
Nope.
I really like. I
No.
built like 40 of the little dudes.
Nope.
They have like a weirdly high amount of personality, and if you put the little robot heads on them, they look like little dudes. I like them. They're cool.
Nah, fuck them.
Wow.
Also, there's a bunch of female heads that are like butch dommy mommies, and I kind of enjoy that. So
I would
Whatever.
never have guessed based on your personality, Innes, that was your type.
no, I
Never
was
in a
saying that in
million
the shop, and then one of the guys was getting super awkward about it, and I just kept repeating it because he was like cringing out his fucking mind, and I can't stop saying it now.
Yeah. And this just wants to be picked up.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
Unfortunately,
true.
I would require a move with wrists of iron, but
He would want to be picked up or stepped on. We've understood this for a while now.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Innes just needs the big woman from Game of Thrones. He's basically the same as that guy.
Innes is eternally in his search for death by Snoo Snoo.
Yeah, that's right.
Aren't we all?
All right, so we don't want to talk about Votann.
Oh yeah, and the
their
pioneers.
awesome
Holy,
models.
if anybody runs 18 pioneers and built them themselves, they actually just deserve respect. That model is genuinely the most ridiculously stepped, involved 30-point model I've ever built. They're like
Good.
60 pieces each.
Good. You should need to suffer for your power level.
Yeah, no, you're going to.
I mean, if you've built Harlequin models, some of my friends magnetize their Harlequin hands
Yeah,
to
that I
like
don't get.
switch between models and stuff like that. If you are able to find the patience,
Yeah,
and
I
those
lost
kinds of
motivation
things.
halfway through Pioneer number 3. I made it through Dude 1, and I was like, I'm only running 9 of these.
The only other thing I wanted to touch on about Votann, though, is that the Chicago Open, there's an email floating around about how the Chicago Open will not allow any unreleased model conversions at their event in Chicago,
It's just good.
which is good. That's probably one of the versions of restricting Votann that I think is the lightest and most
They'll
agreeable
probably
for
still
most
win.
people.
Um,
Yeah,
I
I mean, 18.
apologize in advance if I play you and you're playing Votann and I'm mean to you and don't let you score. Sorry.
Anthony, they're saying the same thing back.
Anthony
Yeah.
is saying that only one Short King can exist, and it is him.
Yeah, it's Short King Highlander.
Yeah.
If you wear
I
Scottish
am
Faith,
the
I'll
Short
endorse
King.
it. It's okay.
I can work that out.
Do it.
I'll endorse it so it's not racist. It's fine.
There you go.
Do we want to do some plugs
Doesn't
and
find that
transition
Team
to
Scotland
questions
jersey.
then?
Yeah, you should have it. It will be like a tent on you, but you should have it.
It's somewhere. I just don't know where.
I mean,
I'll see it on the podium. All right, it'll be in your podium pictures. It's fine.
Yeah, I expect to see some podium pictures from Innes this weekend when he wins LGT.
Hell yeah,
That's
I'll win the
fucking
invitation.
right.
I'll win the invitational in a Canada shirt, and I'll wear the main event. I'll win the main event in an Aussie shirt. All right.
Excellent. That
There you
Aussie
go.
shirt will bring you luck then.
Hell yeah. All right. I'm not going to do the plugs again. We did the plugs at the start. Go back and listen. I'm assuming you were here.
We're just looking for links.
Just look at the links. They're in the description, probably.
Click the ring, click the links, ring the bells. I don't know.
Get
Make
the flashing
comments.
lights.
bell,
Whatever
ring the
helps
links.
me, man.
Slide into my DMs by joining the Patreon. I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, drop me a message on, I don't know. What's the social media platform that's hip with the kids?
TikTok, I thought, was still hip with kids.
I don't know. You are
You're the
drop
only.
me
You are the
send me a
youngest
YouTube
person.
short. Yeah.
You're the youngest person on this podcast, Dennis. You're the only kid.
Yeah, that's depressing, isn't it? Yeah,
mean,
let's
yes.
just move on.
But let's move on.
God, I need the balance status. Like, just emotionally, right now, it's hit the point where it's past like emotion. It's just basic needs now. It's going to ruin LGT for me because I'm just going to be sitting there talking about the balance data slate instead of the game.
I
Just
mean,
feel like, oh yeah, man, none of this shit matters anymore. Balance data slates.
one of the good things about a relatively like healthy meta is that there's like less stuff to talk about because the meta is kind of healthy, I suppose. Whereas we've already talked about Votann just being disruptive for 2 weeks, and there's no point talking about Votann being disruptive for a third week in a row.
Okay, let's do this topic.
Oh,
Are you
actually, hold on.
at all worried that there just won't be enough changes on the balance data slate to the weak factions?
No, fuck them. The thing I wanted to say real quick before we dig in that hole is that I like all the negative things I've said about Votann aren't because I hate Votann. They're because I'm defensive of the game being in a good state, which it currently is. Because I got a flurry of short dude simp emails over the in between of these two periods. I need you to relax. I really wanted to play Votann. I want to play Votann. I think they're cool. But they're fucking busted. So calm the fuck down.
Should we do a dramatic reading of my article?
I think
feel
there's
like that- I feel
there
like
actually is a quick topic real quick to talk about is that people can think that a faction is overpowered without it being a personal slight against you because you like a faction.
Look,
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
Just because you like a faction, us calling them OP is not us saying that you are a bad person. It's not. And if
no.
you have a problem with personalizing somebody saying your faction is overpowered and needs some changes to it to incorporate into the meta in a healthy way, you need to take a moment and think about that. I myself have been guilty of this in the past, especially when Drukari were overpowered. I took a lot of that personally, when instead I should have been like, yeah, my faction is overpowered. I like this faction. I enjoy playing it. But people not liking to play against it or thinking the faction is broken are not personal attacks against me as a person.
If you're
It's
playing a broken
okay,
faction,
folks.
you deserve all the hatred you get. This is a personal attack to anybody playing Votann. You deserve it.
Damn it, Innis. I mean,
Okay,
the other
anyway,
thing.
I'm going to do a dramatic reading of my article because I feel like that's the thing I should do.
Okay.
And this is guerrilla
Okay,
journalism.
We have
Gorilla,
5
yes.
tips, 5 guaranteed tips that you can do to beat Votann. This is coming from a top 10 world player right now. That's me, probably. I've not looked at the rankings this week. Maybe they've changed. Anyway, number 1. Number 5, look in your codex. You're probably overlooking options that are great into Votann because they're not good into anything else. This is your fault, and that's okay. You could be doing more, and frankly, I'm embarrassed for you. I've not lost them yet because I'm employing sick tech that I'm saving for LVO. If you can't do the same, you're just not trying hard enough. Number 4, run more chainswords. Votann ignore AP, so don't bring weapons that rely on it. Guardsmen with lasguns, chainsword sisters, all these things are avoiding playing a premium for AP that you can't use anyway. So avoid the problem entirely and run these highly efficient units to steamroll all the Votann you play. Number 3, don't get shot. Yeah, you idiot. You're standing in the open. That's where Votann thrive. Get behind a wall, pretend it's Call of Duty, you're a weird white guy, and you married a chest-high wallet. There's people who marry skyscrapers. If you're putting units in laws for any reason, you deserve it for not being good enough to win behind a wall. Just follow the Art of War method. Always be taking banner, stranglehold, and to the last. Number 2, just play Votann. What, do you think you're special? You're better than the best army? Suck it the fuck up and get your wallet out. You want to complete with McLaren and your Renault Clio? Who the fuck do you think you are? I'm embarrassed for you. And then finally, my number 1 tip, guaranteed method to beat Votann every time, just play in the United States. Thank you.
Nathan doesn't realize he's muted like a boomer.
I want everybody to know that if you're not following those steps and you're complaining that you're losing to Votann and you've not followed all 5 of those steps, I don't give a shit about your opinion. You're not trying hard enough.
Get it together.
Get it together.
And now, fewer questions. And now this.
I'm gonna go get a
and
drink of water,
onwards.
and then we'll take some viewer questions.
Okay, me and Vince and Violence and Votann and Tony V will chat real quick.
Are
Oh,
people's identity
watch
really
it.
this attached to a faction that wasn't even a thing like 4 months ago? Yeah, absolutely. Of course
Yeah.
they are.
Yes, it
Like,
is.
how dare you even slightly question that?
As I said in the YouTube comments and also the Twitch comments, based on everything I've seen, that there are a lot of lifelong Votann players who didn't know that the faction was so amazing because it was a hybrid of like bikers and dwarves and high-tech weapons together in one faction.
Yeah.
To respond to Hoodio, that is like the thing is that nerds get real passionate about their stuff and just want to send hate mail to people a lot.
Yeah, and it's fine. But like, talk shit to me in a manner where I can talk shit back to you. Like, hit me up on Discord if you want to talk shit. I'll do it with the best of them.
Yeah, definitely. It also feels, I'm not going to lie to people, if you talk shit to us, it feels like sometimes we have to be more polite because of this.
You guys
I
do.
won't.
I choose not to.
Yeah.
Man, I guess it's just me.
Ethan.
It's me.
Yeah.
Who feels, this is why I field 90% of the people who are mad. Because
Well, yeah, because they know they're not going to get any productive solution by coming to me or Anthony.
no, so they come to me instead, or I'm the one who has to be the person who responds to it, or Cliff, or
Being
Curie.
the voice of reason is just not worth it.
Yeah, for either
Some
of us.
days, working with the two of you, yes, it is. It is definitely not worth it.
If you take the high road too often, you end up with American politics, and I'm not willing to do that.
You're not wrong, and I also definitely want to say that if the Votann bans result in Votann getting nerfed, I'm going to I told you so many people in existence who said that it would do nothing productive. Just putting that out there, putting that out into the universe.
Every game that any human being plays that doesn't involve Votann is something productive.
Also true.
Yep. And the ones that do are only productive because maybe you found something that's marginally more useful in that matchup. And God bless you for doing the work that I refuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like all these podcasts out there are like, yeah, we're doing our episode of Votann. Like, just follow my 5 tips, guys. You'll be fine. Everything else is just so much play.
Just print out Innes's advice. Put it. It's on
Medium. You can read it on. It's published on a real website and everything.
Read it before every game. Read it while list building. Read it when you wake up from the morning and you're drinking your morning coffee. Read it right before you go to bed at night.
Yeah.
I don't do Vince's Votann tips. Consider Death Guard as a counter. They're tough and cover and have good access to reroll wounds for play weapons.
I'm assuming that's Nick K.
Tier.
Yeah, I think
like
so.
Twice a week. That guy has made me just lose my shit for like the last week and a half.
Nick's a funny dude. If you're not in our Discord, being in all of the various really cool people who to hang out with in there is great. I'm not going to show it too much, but it's just a really nice community so far. It's gotten to the point where like I'm having to I used to when there was like 30 of us, I read every channel every time a message go out. Like now I'm like I gotta mute some of these channels, man.
No,
every time the lore channel goes off, I'm just like, man, I don't care.
I still keep an eye on most things, so if you're farming engagement, our Patreon's a good place to do it because I will probably answer you because I'm a Discord fiend. But yeah,
definitely will say that I check it on my phone.
We're running out of places to talk to, so I need more people to talk to.
There you go.
Yeah, if you want to engage with any of us, our Discord is probably just the place to be.
Yeah, we're all idiots who can't say no to answering a question that we're asked unless we forget.
It's true. It's somebody who gets pinged in. I've only muted one channel that I get pinged in, so that's it.
Innes will answer you way faster if you post an incorrect take.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. If you tag me in something wrong, it's like straight up. You gotta know, man. I gotta let you know. I can't leave it. Anyway, shall we jump onto some questions?
No, yes.
Let's get it.
Let's go.
Okay, jumping over to Discord for these short questions. If you're in chat right now and you want to ask a question, drop it in.
I was like, man, you sounded so prepared in this, and now you have to go to the Discord to read the questions, and you have to find them.
Yeah, that's like 2 minutes.
Also, I do a meme every week because it makes me laugh. The This week's meme was much better. Go touch grass and call your mom. That's my advice for you this week.
It's actually just generally good advice.
Yeah, call your family. They miss you. If you've not done it recently,
Fuck 'em.
just drop them a call, man. Come on, it'll be good. You don't. If you don't want to call your family, you don't have to. But if you're just not doing it because you've forgotten to, go and do it.
It can also be your chosen family if your bio family sucks.
That too, yeah. It could be us if you want. Like, we're not suggesting that you should have a parasocial relationship with us, but if you want to, we're not going to stop you.
As we point at the nickname that literally says Dr. Stat on it. Yeah, definitely not trying to claim any kind of familial identity in this position.
Look, we can't stop
We
you
have all
having
the
parasocial
marketing.
relationships. We may as well harness them for good.
Yeah.
Are there any rumors that GW is delaying the ban site to slap some bike buffs in for Votann? They should definitely make them a lot more expensive so that building them feels less bad. Like, if they were 50-point models, I'd be okay with the amount of steps that it takes.
I actually got so mad at seeing the word buffs and Votann in the same sentence that like my vision blurred for a moment.
They should just bring grudge tokens from Crusade into match play. So it's one, if you have 1 to 2 grudge tokens, you get reroll 1s to hit, and if you have max grudge tokens, you get 4 rerolls to hit. So they should just bring those through.
I think what they should do is make it so that when the judge token should go the other way, so that when a Votann unit gets killed, like a different Votann unit gets a grudge token, and you get 6s to hit auto wound against it. It should be a debuff, not a buff. Fuck them.
Okay.
You
How
should
can Knights
actually
deal with
like.
Votann?
Oh, I was gonna say you should lose judgment tokens if you lose your warlord. Just goes away, like imperatives.
Yeah, except
Man,
it's
that
not a
is
hive
not
tyrant
enough.
doing it. It matters
Yeah.
0%.
That's a little dude over there.
I don't know, man. My grudge
had a
token.
Knight's deal
On that note, my judgment token suggestion is, like, if you don't want to remove the mechanic entirely, which they're not going to, they've put the fucking tokens in the book. Is change it to 6s, 5s, and then on the 3 tier, you get the 6s and 5s count as 6s to wound. So only once you stack it to 3 do you get the 6s. They count as 6s. That would probably be what I would do.
That would probably
It's
be
probably
okay.
not enough, but it would at least tamp the edge off it a little bit.
They
It
should
never gets to
also-
force.
They should also be like dropped either after an attack or after
Yeah,
like
after
a
you attack a
turn.
unit with a judgment token on it, its judgment token just go away.
Yeah,
all of them.
all of
like
them.
they just,
Yeah,
Yeah,
go,
like Mark-
go. Yep,
like marker lights, but more.
pretty much. Yeah.
also at end of turn. But anyway, how do Knights deal with Votann? Badly. You lose. I'm sorry. That's the answer. Unlucky. Go next.
For more information about that, go take a look at Cliff's article that's up on the website where it goes into the math on beam.
Sorry, dude. You brought an army that has one game plan, have enough wounds that it doesn't get tabled because everything's in line of sight every turn. Sorry, man. Like, that ain't a game plan to Votann. They have enough
is
damage. Why is it so difficult to come up with questions with no data slate and Votann looming?
Because the meta's pretty good.
Yeah, because everything's all right now. Everything's, comparatively all right now. The game still needs changes, but they're less egregious. And with the things that are coming, they feel even less egregious. Like, I don't know, man. If you nerf Nids right now, what's even punching into Votann?
Yeah, Necron's the same problem. Though Necrons also just get rolled, so
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just we're in a liminal transitional period. It's difficult to build up motivation a little bit. I'm definitely just building models rather than painting stuff for a bunch of different factions right now. Like, I'm building some demons, building some Tyranids, building some Votann, just so I'm not committing to anything right now.
It's a little hard to be interested in life when you see a waterfall immediately in front of you that you're about to fall off of.
Yeah, pretty much. Who is the most fun at parties, Vince, Violence, or Turbo?
Turbo.
gotta be Turbo. Turbo's the Aussie nickname I got. It's gotta be. It's
Yeah.
not even close.
That's what I was gonna say. Is the Aussies only give you a nickname if you're fun at parties, and then therefore Turbo is fun at parties.
Okay, Vince, is the sky falling?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Why should I not be afraid? Why should I not be? These are all for you, by the way. Why should I not be afraid of Votann? I heard they are slow.
They aren't. They're quite quick.
Do I need to touch grass when I go outside for the first time?
I would suggest that's 2 separate trips. You might get overwhelmed.
I still can't believe at the end of Nick's episode about Votann, he just said, go outside and look at the sky. You've probably not seen it in a while. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. That's
Yeah.
just perfect.
The
And then
world-
finally for you, I saw someone use the red umbrella to stop raining Votann. How do I use this umbrella and where can I find one?
There's only one, because I think only one person could conceivably have that opinion, and I think it's GW provided. So maybe check the Games Workshop online store, and they might have one for you.
Yeah. You can probably see if you keep licking the boot long enough, it reveals like one of those, like a jawbreaker, like one of the big the sweets that you gotta keep getting. If you get all the way down to the middle of that boot, like it's a jawbreaker, there's a red umbrella in there that protects you from Votann.
Yeah. Well, no, there's a discount code for the umbrella that's on the
Ah,
website.
right, yeah, that makes
You still have to buy the umbrella.
Yeah, you don't get, and you have to assemble it and paint it. You're not
Right.
special.
Well, unless of course you're a paid actor.
That's true.
God damn.
Okay.
Went from
Will,
subtle
will
to
Vince
not.
make the cut for Team USA 2023?
I certainly fucking hope so. I'm putting in a lot of like what I would refer to as off the clock effort to make us good this year. So yeah, I hope that I get to make it. Even if I
Somebody
don't
who
though.
was convinced he wasn't getting to come back. You sure are doing a lot of work to come back.
Yeah, because well, we're US gamers for quite some time now. So
Sorry,
that's
one
not
second.
changing. Yep, that's not changing anytime soon. So yeah. So we will through the pure force of will, if nothing else works, this team will win. So yeah, just gonna take a little bit more work as we go through a bunch of changes, and I'm gonna do my best to help. I would gladly not play if it meant that the team was better, for what it's worth. I would not care even this fucking much about me not being on the starting 8 if that meant that we won.
Will you be the captain of the Team America 2023?
Not in 2023, maybe in future years.
Hell yeah. Do you see a place for the Clan of Us in GSC lists? What would you need to see on a data slate to make GSC competitive for mere mortals? Clan of Us is fine. He's an interesting tech piece. I think Eric cut him from his most recent list, but he definitely does a job. He makes R&D a little bit easier, and he's another social crossword tokens with a Precious Bane pistol. What would you need to see more on the data slate to make GSC competitive for mere mortals? Probably a second build that you can flex between, so that you're not like shit on if the meta responds to this one in an appropriate way. I would like to see. I think personally, I would like to see them go with the guard weapons route, where they just give everything but hand flamers as like free weapons for acolytes and sergeants and neophytes and bikes, and just give them a bunch more points without dropping the unit costs. So that you still get the same amount of stuff, but it gets a little more punch. Don't give them free hand flamers. I think that's probably too much. But other than that, I would probably go that route.
Would you say that list is particularly hard to execute on, or is it like once you're like, where does it fall on that? I've never even talked to anyone about this that's played it. Like, it just seems difficult, but I never like actually asked.
It's one of those ones where it's really, really hard to evaluate that as a player playing it, because I don't know where my personal execution level falls on that category. Like, I've not found it particularly difficult, but like that's in comparison to every list I've ever played. I've played harder lists, like the playing like Oops All Cultists was probably harder, and various things like that. Where you're just like other no damage output list. This list has scalpel damage output, it's got spike damage, it's got consistent blades, and it's fairly tanky. It's a lot of positioning, which can be difficult, but that's kind of like once you figured it out, you figured it out. You don't have to worry about it too much past there. So if you're still at the point where you're making positioning mistakes with like normal armies, you're probably going to find this army really rough. If you've kind of cracked you're automatically accidentally skewing your backline and you're leaving characters on objectives and not forgetting to move them and you're trailing and all that kind of stuff. If you kind of got that sort of the innate eye position kind of okay, you'll probably be fine with that. And then it's just learning damage outputs and then learning play patterns. And I don't know, I would say it's like a 8 out of 10 maybe in terms of difficulty, but there's not many armies that are like 9s and 10s out of 10 at the moment. So it's probably one of the harder armies in the game right now, but I wouldn't say it's a particularly like on a greater scale of all of the 40k I've ever played. There's been harder armies.
Cool.
Basically, anything from like 8th edition that relied on double fight mechanics was harder than this. If you could play one of those, you can play this. Because 8th edition fight phase stuff was just fucking whack. If you could do that, you can do this. It's not that hard. But if you couldn't do that, then you're going to take some time. I think that makes sense. Does that sound?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
I would have stopped you if you were talking nonsense, but that made
Yeah.
sense at least to me.
Yeah. There's just not any armies that are that hard to execute right now, I don't think.
I would disagree with that, but it depends on the level at which you're trying to execute at and how much baked in
But I mean,
experience you
like
have.
there are armies that are, specific parts of them are difficult. Like managing the Emperor's Children fight phase is not super easy. There's a lot of armies that are like anything that's relying on like fight first mechanics. Like I wouldn't want to beat the Yanari, like go into Yanari fresh. But I would say they're like all kind of at that same level as the Gene Circle. But Gene Circle does it over a few more phases, so I would probably say they're tougher. But it's I wouldn't say any of them are like a if you're not like practiced on this game that's less for like 10, 20, 30, 50 games, you're not going to get results out of it. I think anybody can get results with it if they put the time in. Will there be a place in the meta for actual slow armies like Deathwing, Termes, and Death Guard in the future?
Sure. I mean, in the future, maybe. Like, can't say what rules will come out that might make them viable.
They'd have to crack a mechanic or some type. I don't know. Those armies are never good unless they're busted.
Yeah, that's the inherent issue. They don't play the game on an axis that allows them to score points naturally, so they have to score points through other bullshit. And if the other bullshit's not good enough, then they're not going to win. And if it is good enough, then they'll win everything.
Right.
That's kind of all there is.
I wish they gave the slower armies better scoring rather than like Sisters and Necrons if they'd given like
but I think that
hard
kind of
good
just
scoring.
becomes. The problem with doing that is that it becomes inevitability in a really unfun way, where if all Death Guard have to do is stand by their deployment zone and score, then you've got to go to them to stop them scoring, and that's a lot harder than going to Necrons. Like charging into a Death Guard army is still a very unpleasant experience. Nobody enjoys charging into
But
the
like that's the only way to make you do that, right?
Yeah, I get that, but if they just do that for free and win games where everything happens, like I don't know, it's not a super fun play pattern. It's just you play 5 games of trying to crack the castle, and I don't know. There's more interesting ways to play that. I would rather. I hate how little mobility those armies have. I also just don't think that they work in 9th missions, and I think there's ways you could design missions that are better for that, and ways you could design missions that are worse for that, and they're definitely on the end of the spectrum where speed is so good right now that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But speed's been so good the entire time, right? I don't think there's ever been a version of 40k where we've been like, yeah, that's slow, and who gives a shit?
No, like 5th, 6th, 7th, or like where you had like random game length and stuff like that, it was less important to be fast because you got a lot more chance at longer games. Like because there's just on average one less turn now than there used to be. You have one less turn of your slow army being active on the board, right? So when we played 6 turns, when you're in the midfield on turn 3 and you could be in your opponent's deployment zone by turn 4, turn 5, if you've got another turn to be in the deployment zone after that, that's where you can score the bulk of your points. You can get endgame scoring, all that kind of thing that Death Guards can be quite good at. Whereas now there's only 5 turns. So, you spend that for the first 2 turns closing the distance, you just get less interest. You get less turn.
Right.
So I don't know. There's just, it's very variable. I don't think Death Guard techniques are terrible either. I just don't think they don't encourage a play pattern that's particularly interactive or one that gets interacted with well. Like Spread the Sickness is kind of great, but it requires you to walk to the midboard, and most armies can stop you doing that.
Yeah, I think the 6-turn game would actually go a long way towards making them a lot more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that one more turn of the fast army peters out, the slow army gets to last a while, and 6 turns would help a lot with that. Obviously, it makes the game a little bit longer, but yeah, I miss 6 turns. I don't miss random game length so much. I enjoyed it for what it was a little bit. Like it was a product of its time.
Let's be clear. That's fucking garbage. Do not put that back in. I will stop playing. Good God, that's such a stupid thing.
Put random game length back in. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, random game length was very much a product of its time. It is definitely a more casual mechanic, but I wish they had gone for 6 turns rather than 5. Yeah, I feel like 6 turns would have been a better medium place to be. Just more time for the end of the game to matter.
Agreed.
With most tournaments sticking to the no release model, no play, are we safe from Votann until full release, or are bikers enough to win events already?
They'll win events. It's probably one of the weaker versions of Votann, but it can win events.
They'll win events. They've already started winning a couple of RTDs because there were some events that allowed them this weekend.
Was there
yeah,
really?
I don't know, man. Like, yeah, there's two people in the results. They had 100% win rate across 2 RTDs this weekend. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
I do think the like release box version of Votann is probably the weakest version of Votann.
Yeah, of course it is. It's got 4 units instead of 13 units, missing
Yeah.
the 3 best units in the book. But
Exactly.
it'll still win stuff.
I think it'll definitely give the false sense that Votann aren't very good initially to some people who will be like, see?
Either that, or some people will get a bunch of people will get absolutely rolled by it, and then they'll be like, "Oh God, I see what's coming now."
Also, could be that.
I think we'll get a little bit of both from both ends of the player base.
True, and that's how it always is, I guess.
Okay, why did they name them Berserks instead of Berserkers?
Oh, because it's trademarkable, probably, or something dumb like that.
Because they're about to release core Berserkers, but they didn't want overlap.
Yeah,
God, I hope that's not it.
It's probably an IP defense thing, but it's probably also to differentiate their line, like Innes said. Probably a little bit of both.
Should all Tyranids players switch to Kraken now to counter Votann? No. Wait for the balance status, like guys. Just like Tyranids are fine. Do not fuck with the fucking. Every time you snowflake Tyranids, make it worse. Stop doing it. Wait for the balance data slate and see what happens.
Waiting for the balance data slate is also just a generally good idea because you just don't know what's in it, guys.
Exactly. Can we get a community draft / competition for Fat Bear Week? I don't know what Fat Bear Week is, and I kind of don't want to click on the link, but
if I remember correctly, Fat Bear Week is just like the Alaska during the salmon run. There are a bunch of fat bears who come out of to like eat their fill before hibernation is my assumption. So they like look at how fat they get.
Okay.
I think that's the gist.
We're probably not going to do that.
It's like a nature thing.
Okay. Hey, beautiful people, what are some of your personal pre-game questions you like to do?
I like to ask my opponent if they have heroic intervention stratagems and where they like how they work.
I usually just do like, can you move out of phase? Like, I don't really ask a lot of these questions anymore because like most of the armies I know a whole bunch.
Know the rules, yeah. What are your warlord traits and relics? Because I've not read your list.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty common one.
If they use the fancy names for the warlord traits and relics, I ask what they do because I'm like, I don't know what the ET-57 plasma rifle does.
As a bit of like mental game, I usually ask people to walk me through their list, like point at stuff and walk me through it, because I find that I will often find that people are like over focused on something or like under focused on something at that step of things. So like sometimes that's helpful. You find out like what they think is important.
Another one you can do that's kind of along that same vein is anything that you know that there's a very specific thing that doesn't work, get them to verify that they know it doesn't work. Can be kind of valuable. Yeah. Just like, so you've got warp time and they changed warp time recently, stuff like that. Right. Or like, so warp time, that's core only now, right? Just get them to verify stuff like that, just so that you and your opponent both know and you don't like fucking, because there's nothing worse than like being mid turn one, they've just set up their, move the demon prince forward, it's like you interrogate, you're running back and you're like, so that's core only, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's always a shit feeling for both sides. They feel dumb for doing it. You feel dumb for not noticing they were doing it and telling them not to do it at the time. Excuse me one sec.
I mean, I do like asking people like a few things about like what has core, what doesn't.
Yeah. And then just like the little stuff like, are we playing by intent? Are we playing, how are we playing flat dice? Are we playing, just stuff like that.
If it's a practice game and not a tournament game that has like set terrain rules, always walk through terrain. You should walk through terrain anyways to like point out keywords on set terrain, just so you and your opponent are on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, are you using a clock? Stuff like that. Away from the table, what study or research do you guys do on each army, and what does that look like?
I just play games against them. Like, I read codexes when they come out, and then I talk to Anthony and Innes, and then I listen to Art of War Down Under go through things like line by line, because I find that helpful. That's like all of the research that I do. That's like 99% of it is practice, listening to Art of War Down Under, and talking to the two fools who are in this podcast with me.
Yeah, I just kind of spent too much time interacting with 40k to not pick up things at this point.
I find that talking to a given specialist in a thing helps, but that's obviously pretty niche. Listen to someone that's like really passionate about a new army or something that's coming out, talk about it, unless it's Votann, because then they're going to lie to you. And then, yeah, pretty much that's down the vein. And then I'll just play against it a bunch, right? Like, that's, you gotta just, all of this is going to come down to reps, like, always. Your own, someone else's.
Get reps, read the Wikipedia page when it goes live, just like go through, like, I love Wikipedia stratagems by phase. It's just the easiest way to read stratagems in a way that actually works.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, find something that works for you and just do it consistently for every codex. I'm going to be honest, I'm still not all that up on the Demons Codex. I've read it a few times. I've not played against it very, very nearly enough. If I lose to it at LGT, I would probably not be surprised. I'd probably be like, yeah, no, that was my fault. Like I get the book, but it's just, seeing it on the table is very different.
Yep.
I had one more question that was in the pins that I got asked to answer. How do you balance the advice of just take the good list with you can't take a Siegs list and expect to play like Siegs?
I think it's being able to tell when those are things that exist. Like, you can tell when something's like a set competitive list because you see it a lot, and you can tell like a Siegs list because only one person takes that iteration of list and nobody else takes it.
Yeah, but then sometimes like those Siegs lists are just good lists that nobody else is playing yet, right?
I was going to say, some players do things that you should not attempt to emulate, but Siegs is not one of those players. If Siegler's playing something, it's probably because it's dumb strong.
Mm-hmm. There are players
like
who are
picking
known
up
for
Eric's
playing
list
janky.
or Sean's list. Yeah, if you play Eric's list or Sean's list without at least like talking to them or having watching them play it or something like that, then yeah, you're going to be in for a bad time.
Or being willing to put in enough reps to figure it out yourself.
I also think if you're like looking at a list and it won something and you're like, I don't understand even the barest hint of how this functions when you play an army, that's probably an indicator that list relies on something that you just don't understand and might be janky or need help with.
There's also, you're not going to play any list as good as Siegler is, probably. So just play a list that you know works. Like, if he's won with it, it's probably baseline powerful enough for you to win AGT with. You're not worried about it so much. Focus on your own gameplay more than the list you're playing, really. Honestly, just play good list and don't fuck about with it too much, and focus on your own gameplay will do so much more success than being like, oh, but it's this list, it's got so much tech choices, fine, just play it with that, or cut the tech choice. He's run the techno-archaeologist because he really needs R&D on the boards because you can't take banners and hide reliably. Fine, cut that guy. Who gives a shit? But you don't need to understand that. Just play the list, figure it out yourself. If you don't have enough reps, just copy a list and play it. It's fine. People are so fucking hung up on net listing in this game, and also on like people get so hung up on net listing and being like, but it's not working like the net list does. I don't get both sides of that argument. Just
net list. Nobody's going to judge you for it, and if somebody does judge you for it, stop listening to that person.
And you're just net list and accept that you're going to play it worse and work on it. Like that's all there is.
You can also just accept you're not as good. Yeah,
I am actively net listing right this second for LGT. Like, just straight up, just chill. It's fine. I'm still going to play worse than Eric. It's not going to matter.
You can also accept that you're not as good as somebody in the top 10 of the ITC, and just accept that.
And if your inner hipster will judge you, that's fine. Kill your darlings. 90% of being good at 40k is being a ruthless bastard with yourself in terms of like excuses and lists. Just stop it. Like, if you want to do well, you can't make excuses like that. It doesn't work. Stop being a snowflake.
Yeah.
Doesn't help.
Yeah, it just won't happen. It's also not cool to be a snowflake.
Unless you live in snowflake circles in the Arctic, and then it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. In the Arctic.
I'm playing Eric's list versus Tau, round 1 of the LGT. Same list as Carl from Vanguard Tactics. So 4 crisis suits, 2 riptides, long strike, and bombers. Any thoughts and tips? Just outscore it, bro. It's fine. Don't bother trying to kill the riptides. It won't work. They take way too long. Just ignore them. Go around.
Everything else.
Zig when they zag. Zig when they zag and score points, bro. It can't bomb you turn 1. Also, one really fun one. You can still pregame move bikes forward as you go second. Just stay within 9 of the blips, and then they can't bomb you anyway because they can't fly over you. And then it's like, yo, they're going to shoot you. They're going to shoot you anyway. And now you're 9 inches closer. It's
Get
fine.
tabled and win.
Man,
What
those
table that?
bombers are bombers are so much worse against fucking GSC. God, that's so depressing.
So funny.
Yeah, man, that
Um,
sucks.
Yeah.
there's
It's
a really
fine,
good
bro.
question
Just
in chat from
shoot.
Contact Lost as well, by the way.
He's had
Go for
2.
it.
I just see the one, but there's probably a second one.
Out of sheer curiosity, Votann for now team tournament specific build, SKUs, or anything goes. We don't know. Like, there's a lot of theory craft and a decent amount of practice that's gone into Votann, but actually seeing it on the board on all these games and seeing how it actually lines up in practice, people will find lists that are not currently being looked at, and lists that are currently being looked at will get optimized. It's just going to take some time. I think there's a solid 3 or 4 contenders. I know the beam list is very powerful. A lot of people are very hyped on like the Uther plus Magna Rails list. I know that I've got some people who are very high on that are friends with. Like, just we'll see what pans out. We saw the toughness 9 land fortresses win an RG this weekend, which is just obnoxious. I hate that could be a thing.
I hate that that's a sentence that happened like this weekend.
T9,
Fucking
no
did it.
rerolls to wound.
Yeah, T9 no rules to win, man. It's fine. Yeah, they'll figure out. And the problem is that we're going to zig for Votann, and then Votann are going to zag for the response to Votann as well. Is that like, yeah, you get the tech for Votann, and then Votann get the tech for your deck, which is always fun. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. And then the second question from Contact Lost is: many people say the game is in a great place now, but aren't you getting a lot bored of the secondary game? It does get repetitive. Man, I fucking hate secondaries. It's very boring. It's every game plays basically the same. Yeah, it's very much in the case of you can plan the game at list building as opposed to being active and reactive, which I preferred. I know Maelstrom wasn't everybody's favorite thing, but I really prefer to create a Maelstrom deck where your win conditions were variable by turn. You had to be able to respond in a variety of ways, and there was still primary going on as well, so you still had fixed components of the game. There was just a lot more variance in it. Now with secondaries, it's just bleh, kind of. I don't love it.
Good. I think secondaries are good, but I don't like the current set of them. I do miss Stranglehold. I think To the Last Dying was fine, but Stranglehold was cool.
I think they need a little bit more variety in secondary choice back again because they eliminated so many of them.
Yeah, but a lot of them were just kind of bad choices. Like they just removed a lot of the traps more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean they should just make the secondaries better. I hate this idea that like secondaries are like that. Like everyone's so allergic to people like being able to score 100. It's like it's fine. Like secondaries can just be good. That's okay. Because otherwise, then there's just armies with good ones and armies with shit ones. Stop doing that. Just like let there be multiple good ones. That's fine.
Yeah, the problem you run into there is that if everybody just scores like 35 seconds for free, it kind of removes the point a little bit.
They shouldn't be free. They should require interaction.
Yeah, more secondaries that require actions that aren't on objectives, so that there's actually reasons to be on places besides objectives on the board would be nice. I know Goonhammer were talking about this week with like tear down their icons being the best current mission because it actually encourages you to do something besides just standing your deployment zone or on objectives. Which I broadly agree with. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely better ways. Engage is really bad right now as well, which I think is hurting.
Yeah,
second is just Engage so awful. Engage is always sucked, but it's especially sucks right now.
Yeah, they just keep making it worse, right?
Yep. Quick question for Innocent's GSC list. Everybody wants to talk about the GSC list, man. I love it. How would you approach an army with very strong optic scan to intercept the Neos? You got 2 squads, don't you, bro?
One bullet shields for the other.
Why not?
I like that.
For real, like what do you do against like T-Sons?
Yeah, you just lose a squad. Like, what else are you going to do? You don't have another option. You either just accept accept that you're going to lose all of the shotguns because they're probably not going to kill 20 models, assuming that you're like vaguely positioned properly. Because you're still getting a 6-up save if you're in cover. They're still only winning you on 3s. They're not going to hit you all. They're not going to hit you a bunch. Like trying to stay away from the pressing squad if they go inactive. Like there are ways to mitigate it, or just don't go for it. Don't drop within range. Start the Neos on the board if you have to. They can pop out behind a wall and shoot too. Like that's still a valid option. You don't have to start stuff in reserve. There are a million ways to play around it. It's not always the best way to do it, or burn them out of CP before they can do it.
I think that the one thing that we talked about previously is if you only have one way forward, even though that way sucks, if that's the one way you can win, you just got to do it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Thousand Suns, I would just don't try and kill the Scarab Brick until they're the only thing left. Kill all of the everything else.
And then
Sure.
we have a question from Think for Yourself in chat.
Why did models like Chaplain of Bite and Redemptors and Relic Contemptors get nerfed if Space Marines sucked anyway? Because they didn't suck the 9 months ago when they wrote the balance data.
Yeah. They were good then.
There's always a lead time on things like this.
Yeah. I mean, they could definitely roll back the nerfs to all those.
They were also, in fairness, they were pushing out all of the other options in the book. And quote unquote, if you were going to nerf Space Marines, they were the units to nerf. And I think increasing diversity within a codex, I get that, but I think increasing broad level diversity in a codex with as much unit choice as Marines is fairly valuable when all of the units are so similar. If there are standout ones, then you either need to buff everything else or nerf those guys. And buffing everything else, I don't know, it does lead to like model creep where you just end up with a 2,000 point army having way more models than it should. And models not feeling like, Space Marines shouldn't feel like a horde army, and if you keep dropping the points, then that will. I think Space Marines just need better army-wide rules more than they need better data sheets. The data sheets are kind of okay. It's just the things supporting them and the secondaries are kind of shit.
Yeah, I would do horrible things to have Van Vets as a data sheet in CSM. Like, just the worst shit you've ever...
Yeah.
Some real dark alley
Van Vets,
shit.
like, there are some... broad level, you have really good data sheets in Space Marines. They're just... The chapter tactics are kind of weak also at broad level. And I think doctrines...
Mid-Stars is insane.
Yeah, no, I get that there are individual ones that are very powerful, but I don't know, man. I don't get what it is with White Scars, but it just doesn't come together in a way that's playable.
Yeah, because the rest of the rules aren't that great. Like,
yeah, exactly.
No.
I don't know. I feel like you could probably move... Space Marine troops especially are horribly overcosted. Or disgustingly underpowered, I think is probably more what I would put. I don't think it's a bad thing that a tactic... Like, an Intercessor squad probably should be about 110, 120 points. It should just also be way better than it is.
Yeah, they should fuck.
Like they did in end of 8th edition. Where they were admittedly 17 points a model, but that's about 20 points in a 4K in current terms.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how you change it in a way that doesn't just lead to, every bolter is a storm bolter now, and
would that be so bad? Every bolter is a storm bolter now?
Because it gets back into the thing of delegitimizing, like, man, horde armies are already rough. If you just start doubling the amount of damage out of every Space Marine model, it gets real weird quick, and you have to keep dropping points on horde models again, which I don't think is where they want to be.
Would bolters being damaged too just like explode the game, or?
I think the damage reduction has kind of become less common now. I don't see it as much as I used to. It's kind of more of it's definitely a unit thing now. Just like the generic bolter, I don't know. I feel like you could even just all the bolters except hurricane bolters do not touch hurricane bolters. Just put +1 AP and +1 damage on almost all bolters in the game or in Space Marines. I think you'd probably be okay. Except hurricane bolters, don't do it. Every time they fuck with the hurricane bolter data sheet, it breaks the game somehow. Centurions don't need 60 damage 2 shots.
True.
Yeah, more strats to cost less on Marine troops. Yeah, that would make sense. Like, there's definitely ways you could do it. It's just like give Marines a native 5-up invol.
Space Marines need a 2.0 codex pretty badly at this point in order to bring them up to par.
I would also probably give scouts the cultist treatment where they can be 1 per regular troop. You can take a squad of scouts.
Probably what they should have
you
done.
Can have so you could have 2 squads because they're fucking 70 points for a squad of 1 wound dudes that are an elite's choice.
Elite
Marines should always be a viable faction. I think that's the worst part is that when the Marines are bad, it's just bad for the game because so many people play them and have them. You're almost always going to play them at tournaments. I think Blood Angels are a good spot, but I don't think Blood Angels are a good spot in a healthy way. And then other than that, it's kind of sad. two up armor save armor condemned. I don't still think armor condemned's a good mechanic personally, but
I think it's great. That's one of my favorite things they've added.
I hate how much it makes now AP1 completely useless.
It only does against them. That's fine that they're good against AP1.
So like 80% of them, like 80% of armies.
I don't think that's true.
I don't know.
We know that's
Kind of
not true.
It's probably also about time we stopped treating Space Marines like Blood Angels and stuff as like a bajillion separate factions when they're just sub factions within the Space Marines book a little bit. When we talk about
Sort
the
of,
power
right?
levels.
It's really
Yeah.
hard to like a Blood Angel Van Vet and an Imperial Fist Van Vet are not the same thing and should not be pointed as such.
True.
Yeah, well, that's just kind of a function of how they've done.
I mean, they should just pull them apart or like more fully integrate them. I think they're in like kind of a weird in between space.
Yeah, they should just more fully integrate them. Unless they just think they're all actually individual factions, which would be dumb as shit. But like, you know,
Yeah. That's what I mean, is because they kind of like halvesied them with the supplements. They haven't like fully integrated them into each other. And when they haven't fully pulled them apart. So they're kind of in a weird zone where some of this stuff is kind of wonky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Ultramarines should suck forever.
Well, I want Space Marines. The Space Marines. The thing I want for Space Marines is them to feel like they're following a game plan, like through the code, like the doctrine system, but like have more buffs tied to the doctrine system. Basically, I feel like that would probably be a more interesting way to do it. Like how Dark Angels have like 3
They were
rules
really
attached
close.
to it. Yeah,
They were very close with that secondary. That secondary could have been sick.
yeah. I don't know if you even just tag. You just tag like plus. You know, you tag +1 ballistic skill army wide and devastator doctrine. You know, +1 weapon skill and so. Just like give them a reason. Like +3 movement in tactical doctrine. I'm giving you an overblown example, but just like give them a bunch of stuff that rewards them for doing their doctrine thing, and make Space Marines feel explosive in the turn where they're meant to be doing their thing. Like giving them army wide +1 to hit on turn 1 is probably excessive, but you know, there's a way you could tie that to a devastator.
I was way more scared of +1 weapon skill. My brain flashed to 30 White Scars Van Vets with +1 to hit and damage. I was like, no!
Would that even scare you that much?
Yeah, it would. I don't know if that's rational because they've not been great the entire time I've played, but it would make me poop.
Yeah, if I think you could probably legitimately do +1 plus the skill turn 1, and then +3 movement in tactical doctrine and +1 weapon skill in assault doctrine, and I don't think it would break too much. It'd break Blood Angels in half, but
yeah, I was gonna say some shit would get little.
We have one more question in chat from Tellable about Thousand Suns builds.
Exactly. There's a mad lad this weekend who played Abaddon, 10 Red Corsairs Terminators, and 15,000 Sun Spawn.
That still has Terminators in it, though.
Yeah, but they're not 1,000 Suns Terminators.
I think it's hard to talk to Tellable a little bit. Like when your best data sheet in your book is Terminators.
Yeah.
Only.
Sorry.
I don't think so right now. You could probably still try like the Liam Hackett 60 rubrics list and still have a reasonable degree of success.
He wouldn't play it.
Yeah, no, neither would I. But you could probably still play it, and like I wouldn't be surprised if you went like you could pull a 3 into a 4 and 1 with it. But you're going a long way for a short drink. I don't know, man. That book is not very interesting. Just as a book in general, it doesn't really do anything besides Terminators well.
Yeah. They definitely need like another unit or two to make them an interesting army.
Or like buffs to some of their existing unique units. Like maybe Mutaliths fast.
Yeah, rubrics on discs would have been cool or some shit like
Enlightened
that.
could probably use a buff.
Zangor is probably
like buffing the Zangor side of the codex would probably use just like a bit of a buff up because the armor renown wasn't on it.
Yeah,
sure wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think that book is particularly interesting. Unfortunately, that's kind of the biggest problem with it.
Yeah.
On that depressing note, where we talk about how Thousand Suns have only one good data sheet.
You
Why
could
don't you
probably
close-
run, you know, 300, whatever the 100 piece equivalent for Chaos Knights is, and Abaddon, and then some Thousand Sun stuff. And then that's still a Thousand Suns list, right?
Yeah.
Could shove Abaddon into that list and put like 3 10-mans of all flamer equipped Rubrikai in, I guess. I don't know. Do something. I don't know.
You sure could.
You sure could. I'm not saying
I
it's
don't
good,
even
but you
think Thousand Suns
could.
don't even. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I don't even like Scarab Cults that much. They're just so played out at this point. If you've not played and beaten 20 Scarab Cult Terminators at this point, like, what are you doing with your life? You could play 30. It's different. It's not 20.
Why don't you close us out, NS, on that
Get us
depressing
outta
note
here.
about how Thousand Suns did everything wrong?
So if unlike Magnus, you want to do things right, you could check out patreon.com/statcheck, where you can find our Discord and interact with us in a bunch of healthy and unhealthy ways. Otherwise, you can check us out at youtube.com/c/statcheck. You can find us live every Tuesday at 11 p.m. GMT.
5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern
6
Standard Time. Wow, Anthony looked mildly embarrassed that I took that from him, which is the best thing because I thought he wasn't paying attention.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to us this week. We should have some bonus. So, the most recent bonus content we did was our episode of Enter the Matrix. Anthony, do you want to do a quick plug for Enter the Matrix to give people a hint of what they could be seeing behind the scenes right now?
Fuck yeah. Enter the Matrix is a single piece of content that we made last week that I am probably the most proud of basically anything I've done so far. You get to see what I can only describe vaguely as an emotional Innis. So yeah, that should be a good reason to do it. He says nice things about people in an emotional manner. If you know anything about Innis, that happens once every like 6 calendar years. So that should be a reason enough to go watch it. It is going to be a thing that we do going forward. It is myself and the captain, at least this last year, of the Polish team named Typhus, or something really, really long and confusing in Polish. He will say it on the podcast, and I'm not going to butcher it because he told me not to. So,
Piotr,
yeah. No, the last name is the part that's hard.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, exactly. So come check it out. It is really good. I'm really proud of it. We are going to be interviewing other WTC captains, so you get to hear us like kind of break it down. It is me and Typhus that'll be interviewing people going forwards. We started with NS, and I think it's one of the better ones that we could do. So come check it out.
That is
It's really
bonus
dope.
content this week. It will be bonus content for another week. So a week on Friday, that should go live for everybody on the YouTubes. Otherwise, come check out the bonus content. If that doesn't sell you on it, I don't know what will. Unless you're one of my teammates, in which case you probably don't want to listen to it.
Definitely go listen to it. He says something really nice about you guys at the end.
At the end is the key word.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Is anybody doing anything besides LGT this week? So I'm doing LGT. You guys are doing.
I'm doing
FL?
Michigan.
You're doing Is that this weekend as well?
That's this weekend, yeah.
Cool. No, Anthony, are you doing it this weekend?
I'm chilling.
No?
I'm getting ready for Chicago.
And are you guys on any other shows this week?
No.
You should
No.
just do cross promotion, plug anything like that. No, cool. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.